It is with great pleasure that I welcome stakeholders to this very important public hearing on the new rice duty regime. This public hearing comes into effect following the adoption of the motion brought before the House by Honorable Nasu Babelde, a member of this committee. I must therefore commend the sponsor of the motion for his patriotic desire to be part of the process aimed at seeing to the end of the activities of smugglers and other unscrupulous saboteurs. As you are aware, the ill effects of smuggling has impacted negatively on customs revenue, while at the same time adding pressure on the foreign exchange. Nigeria has been branded complacent in abating smuggling of rice into the country, as millions of tons are being smuggled every year into Nigeria. As a parliament, our major objective, our major consideration has always been and will remain doing whatever we can in the overall interest of our people. That is why we are today interfacing with stakeholders with a view to fashioning out a way forward to the federal government's rice policy. It is my belief that stakeholders will avail themselves with this opportunity and make meaningful contributions on this very important subject matter. Once again, I welcome you. I wish all of us a fruitful deliberation. Thank you very much.
It is a great honor and privilege to be here today to declare open the public hearing on the new rice duty regime. As you may be aware, this hearing is geared towards obtaining the opinion of stakeholders as well as the advice of other experts on the implication of implementing the federal government new rice duty regime, which is meant to facilitate revenue generation into the country. It is my pleasure to declare this public hearing open. God bless you all.
The issue before this honorable committee today should not be on why we are not importing rice or how to get more money for the Nigerian customs into the treasury. It should be what has been the impact of our rice policy. How much has our rice production increased? How much incomes have we added to our rural economies and our farmers? How many jobs have we created with the rice policy? And how much has private sector investments risen? We must first understand this. Then we must ask whether what Nigeria is doing on its rice policy is different from other countries. Then we must ask, how can we build on the successes being achieved in our rice sector, using adjustments as needed on our tariff policy to cut off smuggling that? At the end of the day, I will argue that the Nigerian customs must do its job. My job is not to police the borders. My job is to create incentives for farmers, reduce our dependence on food imports, revive our rural economy, and create millions of jobs for millions of our youth. But first, I want to talk about the arguments for rice tariff policy and why we have it. What are we aiming to be? A dumping ground, or quite frankly, a dustbin for other countries, low quality or sometimes very unsafe foods? Why must we import what we can produce? Nigerians together, we must look at ourselves in the mirror and change our ways and our consumption habits in ways that encourages our own farmers and domestic economy, not the economy of others. But what the food import apologists want for us to have is for India and Thailand to take over the Nigerian rice market. Some then argue that customs is losing money from rice imports due to smuggling, and therefore they harp on the need to lower tariffs, and I'll take that in a moment. But Nigeria, honorable members, is not an exception in using high tariffs on rice. All over the world, rice is the most protected and subsidized of all commodities, with tariffs, tariff-rated quota, and tariff escalation for processing and value added. In 2012-2013, the gross value of paddy produced by our farmers was 149 billion naira. And if you take away the cost of production, the net value of that was 79 billion naira. Now, what has happened by the year 2013-2014? The total gross value of rice, paddy, produced by our farmers increased. It increased from 149 billion in 2012 naira to 313 billion naira by 2013-2014. And the net value of their production rose from 79 billion naira in 2012-2013 to 175 billion naira by the 2013-2014 wet season and dry season. What does this mean in terms of economic impact? Let me tell you one or two things about it. For our farmers, for our youths, for our agro dealers, that represents an inflow of 254 billion naira obtained from 2012 and 2013 wet and dry season farming. This has transformed all of our rural areas rapidly. The governor of Kebbi State, His Excellency Saidu Usman Dakingari, said at the launch of the 2014 dry season farming, and I quote him, "There is no poverty or unemployment in Kebbi State today due to the massive production of rice in the state." Chairman, this is Nigerian rice. This is not imported rice. This is 100% Nigerian rice. Long grain parboiled rice that's produced in Nigeria, and at the corner of it you will see written proudly Nigerian. It's not from India, it's not from Thailand, it's not from Vietnam. It's ours. And that's the kind of thing that you're beginning to see in Nigeria. And today, Aliko Dangote, Africa's richest man, and I hope he becomes the richest man in the world, he is going to be investing $300 million in commercial rice production and milling in Nigeria. He said because the rice policy in Nigeria is working. That's what he said. I would like to say, Honorable Chairman, that we have a situation in the country today where the importers are buying rice, local paddy from our farmers, are putting it into bags that are labeled their own bags, and selling it to Nigerians as imported rice. The whole idea is very simple. Create a smoke screen as if our policy is not working, so that everybody thinks all the rice is in the market is imported rice. No, it's part of the sabotage efforts that they are doing. The Nigerian customs data indicate that on average, 342,000 metric tons of mill rice was imported into Nigeria between 2009 and 2011. But the trade data on Nigeria's imports for that period shows an average of 514,000 tons, 517,000 metric tons. Now, if you take the trade data from the exporting countries, it indicates that the total export of rice to Nigeria averaged 1.916 million metric tons per year. And so if you look at this data here, where you have the red bars here, that's what the trade data tells you. That is what is declared as going into Nigeria by the ones exporting those to us. The blue one you see here is Nigeria rice imports that we get from the customs data. So there's a huge divergence between what the trade data says and what customs itself reports. So there is an issue there for you to look at, and this is not my report. This is from the International Food Policy Research Institute, that only about 25% of what coming in is actually being reported. We have an option: waivers or a modified tariff regime. We are not for waivers. Nobody should have waivers because it doesn't add anything to the economy. And so we decided to have an adjusted tariff regime, what we call tariff-rated quota regime. What that means is that after they have bought our own paddy, and we know our farmers are happy, the country is benefiting, jobs are being created. If there is a gap that needs to be brought in, then those that have invested in integrated rice mills that can process the paddy will give those ones a preferential tariff system that allows them to bring in the difference. Now, we don't want to, I want to be clear, we are not going to encourage briefcase traders in rice. That tariff regime would allow us to deal with the bad guys that are coming through semi-border and trying to undercut us. And we believe that this, if the custom though, still has to do its job. Because at the end of the day, if we come down to protect this investment and protect our farmers, the responsibilities lie on custom to make sure that this wave that comes through is stopped. Now, how will the levy money be spent is the question you will ask me. This rice levy fund will be used to support domestic paddy production by farmers, including support for high-quality improved seeds and fertilizers, provision of mechanized planting, harvesting, and threshing implements to assure availability of sufficient quantity and quality of rice paddy. Number two, we will provide subsidized loan to rice farmers, rice collection centers, rice millers, including establishment of large outgrower schemes around the integrated rice mills. Mr. Chairman, I'll give you this copy of this submission. Number three, the rice levy fund will be used to support research and development activities to improve technologies, extension, and dissemination of technologies to farmers. Number four, it will upgrade, rehabilitate, and expand irrigation and water management infrastructure for rice production. Number five, it will support provision of low-interest financing for the establishment of new rice mills to expand the presence of integrated rice mills around the rice clusters in the country. Number six, it will provide subsidies for transport of rice paddy to rice mills to equalize the price at which locally produced rice is available to integrated rice mills. Finally, number seven is that we want to use it to upgrade infrastructure, roads, power, water, around those areas that we are actually improving rice production. And finally, to guarantee minimum price support for our rice farmers to ensure the incentives for accelerated production and milling of domestically produced rice. Mr. Chairman, you have been very, very generous with your time. And I want to thank also the committee members for allowing me to give this level of detail. The reason is because I believe that our rice policy is working. I believe it's working well. I believe the impact on the domestic economy is huge. For many of you, you may have looked at the IMF report for 2014. IMF said that our economy will grow at 7.3% this year. But it went on to say that it's going to grow because of the growth in agriculture, trade, and services. The Lake Charles Research Institute in Maiduguri, despite all the wahala that is there, they've introduced 3 new varieties of wheat. They are not temperate wheat, they are tropical wheat. The last time Nigeria tried to produce wheat in '84, we got 0.8 tons per hectare in terms of yield. Today, we have introduced tropical wheat, not temperate wheat, tropical wheat. We are getting average 6 tons per hectare. And this year, we are cultivating 75,000 hectares. Next year, by God's grace, we'll cultivate 150,000 hectares. And the year after, we'll do 300,000 hectares. And if you ask the deputy chairman, he will tell you, by 3 years, God helping us and with enough resources to do it, we will produce 1.8 million metric tons of wheat. That will cut our wheat import bill by half, $2.5 billion easy. And that is what we need to do. The farmers of Nigeria are looking to you, even as we look at these policies. But we must not let our farmers become like rickety boat on the Atlantic Ocean, where the waves go over them. We throw them to the mercy of everything, and we ask them to sink or swim. I know that with your support, they will not sink. Thank you very much.
Without wasting much time, I would like to my colleagues, if maybe there's anybody who has anything to ask the Honorable Minister, because
you said the policy is working. Yet, the activities of smugglers are unabated. You have also acknowledged the presence of saboteurs. My question is, knowing that these people are in existence, how many of such people are you prosecuting or have you prosecuted?
I know that some of these portfolio businessmen you're talking about that are part of those that are running down this economy are known. They are not faceless. I will ask and plead that we have a list of such persons. Aside that, on the rice levy fund, I want to ask what has been happening to that fund before now? Where is the fund domiciled? How much do we generate from rice levy averagely in a year? And let us also have in writing, because I went through your submission, your very wonderful proposal on how you think that that fund should be used. Finally, let's know the synergy between yourself and the Ministry of Trade and Investment, Ministry of Finance too. How do you relate? Or how well have you been relating in pursuing these common goals? Thank you.
You made a mention that from Nigeria,